Hello, welcome to another new release Blu-ray review video. This is a huge one, the Human Condition Trilogy from Arrow Academy. Holy moly, this is a monster of a release to me. It's been the most highly anticipated Blu-ray release for me for years. This is a film I saw a couple of years ago and it blew me away. And to hear finally that the UK was going to get a Blu-ray high-definition release of this film with English subtitles was just like heaven to my ears, because this film needs to be seen by more people, in my opinion. Directed by Masaaki Kobayashi back in the late 50s, early 60s. It's a monumental film. Like, all these big words, monumental, masterpiece, they all apply to the human condition. They get thrown around lightly, but this, I think, really does apply to this film, or films, however you want to see it, because it can be seen as 3 films, as 6 films, or one mammoth-length film that just, from start to finish, follows this one character, played by Tatsuya Nakadai, who plays the character of Kaji in the Second World War, who starts out as this kind of this guy who oversees labor in a Chinese prisoner of war camp in Manchuria, and kind of the Japanese military are overseeing all of these prisoners of war, and he kind of has to deal with the regulations of these Chinese prisoners of war, their working conditions, things like that. And then he ends up going into the service himself. And in the first film, he tries to kind of get away from going into service by being this head of labor. But by the second film, he is forced into being a soldier himself. And then the third film, we follow him as he escapes from service and is out basically on the run, on the road, and trying to find his way back home. It's this epic journey, this epic tale of this one man. And basically everything he goes through as a pacifist, as someone who doesn't agree with war, having to, make things better in a prisoner of war camp, then realizing that he has no choice but to be a soldier himself, and then to fight against the, all of the things that are going wrong inside the military itself as a soldier, yet he can't deny the fact that he is a great soldier, and he becomes a great soldier and a great leader. And then, by the third film, everything changes again, and I don't think I've ever seen a character go through so much in a single film. And I suppose you can view it as a single film, you can view it as a series of films, but it is a continuous running story. And again, the film blew me away before. It was even better this time in high definition. I just love this film so much. It really does deal with the human condition. It's a lofty title for a film, but it really lives up to it. And it's one of the best war films ever made. And I would put it up there as one of the best films ever made, period. That's how much I think about this film. I highly recommend it to anyone. And this release, just the fact that it's coming out in the UK with, just high definition transfer in a nice box set with some nice artwork. There's been a few people who didn't like the artwork and stuff. I quite like it. There's other artwork I would have preferred. I love the Criterion cover, for example, but I think they did very well with the design of this. And there's a nice booklet with writing on the film. The only thing I can do, and I have to be honest about it, I have to be honest, because, that's just the way I have to be with this. The extras are disappointing. From day one, I thought there were going to be more extras announced for this. This is such a huge film, such a massive release to me. For someone who really respects this film as one of the best things I've ever seen when it comes to cinema, I was hoping for a lot more in terms of extra material. Now, Arrow Films, Arrow Video, Arrow Academy, they load their features, their releases with features, including a recent box set, Female Prisoner Scorpion. They a bunch of, I guess, B movies, from Japan, and they've got interviews, they've got appreciations, all this kind of stuff, and this film didn't get that much. Now, I did watch all the special features to comment on them, and I think that all together for, the entire trilogy over the 3 discs on Blu-ray, it comes with the DVDs as well, there's about an hour's worth of bonus material. We get scene select commentaries from Philip Kemp, and he talks about certain scenes, and you can access them from the special features menu, and they come up as kind of standalone little, pieces where you can watch a specific important scene from each of the 3 films. There's 2 per disc, 2 per film, and he talks about them for 4 to 7 minutes. And they're interesting pieces. At times he does get into that kind of commentary trap of just talking about what's happening on screen, where he's saying, and now she walks towards the window, and it's, and then there's a kind of an introduction to Masaaki Kobayashi, to The Human Condition, by Philip Kemp as well. And I think he did a great job of kind of summing up a lot of things that you might not know. And The Human Condition is really a film that doesn't get talked about as much as some of the other classics like Seven Samurai, things like that, when you think about Japanese cinema especially. I mean, I hadn't even heard of it until a couple of years ago, whereas Seven Samurai is a film I've heard of my entire life. And I do think it deserves to be up there with that film and talked about with some of the great Japanese classics. I just thought like maybe Tony Raines would be available to do some more about this, and all of Arrow's releases are usually stacked with features, and I thought that there would be more. What's there is very good and high quality, but I think the thing that really sells this is really just the films themselves. I really think that they stand alone as just a great piece of storytelling, and I highly recommend anyone to check it out. It's available now. It came out a couple of weeks ago. And also, one thing I really liked about the Blu-ray was that you basically get the film in its original Japanese format, which is a 6-part film. Now, I'm not sure how this was screened. I know that kind of, you know, if you look at it as a trilogy, then each film in the trilogy kind of came out, you know, 1, 2, and 3. But they were screened with credits, you know, and kind of an end credit sequence in 6 parts in Japan. Now, internationally, they were released as 3 standalone films, you know, 3 to 3.5 hours each. But on the Blu-ray, you can kind of choose to watch them in 6 parts if you wish. It doesn't change anything about the cut, because if you watch it as a trilogy, you still get the end credits of like Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5. So you still get those credits at the end of each 6th part. But if I'm making sense there. So, you know, but either way, if you want to watch it and kind of not dedicate so much time to it, you can watch it in its original Japanese version of kind of 6 installments, which I think was a great thing for them to include. It's a very small option that they put in there, but I think it really helps anyone who might not be able to dedicate the time to sit down and watch you know, each film that's 3.5 hours long, or dare I say, anyone who would try and watch the whole thing in one go, which I still haven't managed to do myself. I hope to do it one day. But this Blu-ray release is phenomenal just because it looks great. They have the theatrical trailers as well, which I found really interesting because in especially the second and third film's trailer, you get to kind of see how they're promoting it back in the 60s. Like, you know, the human condition returns, the epic continuation of this story. You know, we put 700 million yen into this film, the biggest production in Japan's history. They're really hyping up how big this film was, and it really was. I mean, you can see from all 3 films the scale of it, the scope of it. Tons of extras employed. There's a battle scene in the second film which I think is one of the best and most effective war scenes I've ever seen. You really get hit in the face with how horrifying just the feeling of being on a battlefield might have been like. You know, there are some films that have done that brilliantly, like Paths of Glory, but this one to me is really effective, and yeah, it's one of the best war films ever made without a shadow of a doubt. I highly recommend you check it out, and that's about all I've got to say. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
So you might say he's a really nice guy, really, but if fucking don't cut shit with me. He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool.